That's Tommy Fleming, and I'm pleased to say he joins us now in the studio. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Robin. How are you?
Very well. Good to see you. It's like your annual visit here every year now, isn't it?
It's like a pilgrimage.
And you do the Ulster Hall every year as well.
Yeah,
So
I have a few pilgrimages, don't I?
You do, don't you? Yeah.
I'm a walking Medjugorje.
And is it true you got the big break when Phil Coulter walked into a bar and said, "I like him"?
That's true, actually. It was the Tower Bar in Westport, County Mayo. I was playing with a band called Jarrog, which was the Irish spelling is DEA Father RG for Red. There was 2 redheads in the band. It was kind of our traditional folk version of Simply Red. And so we decided to phonetically spell it by Jarrog. We put a father on the O, why I don't know. We were doing gigs all over Mayo and Sligo in the west of Ireland. And I was singing at this festival in Westport in a marquee outside the Tower Bar. And Phil came in, he was working in Castle Bar. And he came in to have a pint and he heard me singing. And it was funny. I was, 21? And he invited me along to play with his orchestra in the National Concert Hall in Dublin, in Cork Opera House.
Wow.
All of those great University Concert Hall, Limerick, and then on to do Carnegie Hall, Boston Symphony Hall, Massey Hall in San Francisco, all of those amazing venues, which is 30-something years ago. And he opened a huge door for me, massive, massive door for me. There's been a lot of things have happened in those almost 32 years.
Well, I was going to say, there must be times when you're sitting there and you go, I can't actually believe that I'm here today, thinking about the car accident.
Yeah.
You put up a post on your social media recently with the head brace and the neck brace and stuff on.
I never did that before, actually.
Yeah.
I kind of kept this. I've got to a point, I think, Robin, in my life where I it's not that I don't care. I've no problem in talking about things anymore. The accident was 24 years ago. And I never really talked about it. I never let anyone see what the results of that accident were. And I found a picture. I was doing a clear out there a few weeks ago. I found a picture of me in the frame, and I don't know where it was taken. And I just put up a post and said, "This is what happened." Yeah. And it's funny the reaction I got to it and the amount of people that didn't know that it happened.
Well, was there kind of knock-on health effects this affect you today? Or?
But I mean, they're not really. I never call them health effects. I call them just kind of side effects of what happened. Yeah. You know, I've had a couple of operations over the years on my back. I can predict when it's going to rain. You know, I have a few metal plates in my back and in my neck, but I'm walking, I'm healthy, I'm trying to keep fit as much as I can.
Well, I saw that 8 o'clock this morning. My phone goes beep beep beep, and you're tagging me in a post, and I'm going, "There's Tommy in the gym at 8 o'clock." Was that just for my benefit this morning, or is that something you do every day?
My brother claims that I just get up, I get changed, get into the gym, take the picture, and go back to bed again. So no, I'm an early riser. I'm an early waker. As I get older, I think 4 and 5 hours sleep does me at this stage.
You've got the Ulster Hall gig coming up, and also the Millennium Forum in Derry. What can we expect from the gigs this year then?
I'm very, very conscious of not doing too much new material because the people don't know it. But you have to educate them slowly with new songs.
Yes, yeah.
So I always go back to songs that they remember and that I haven't done in a long time. So like the I Live in Free now is coming back that I haven't sang in 10 years. There's another song that we have done, Open Sky, that I haven't sang in 15 years, wow. 15, 16 years. And they're all kind of, but there's still the old favourites are in there, like Bright Blue Rose, Danny Boy, Roll Back the Clouds, which will always be one of my favourite songs.
Because I knew Christy, as you did as well.
Christy was a lovely, lovely man. And so all those songs are in there. There's old, there's new, there's 1 or 2 little surprises. I tell a lot of stories about my parents, my late parents. They were a huge influence on me, and they shaped an awful lot of who I am and how I do things. I've turned into both of them, I'm convinced. I have, unfortunately I don't have my dad's patience or quiet demeanour. I have my mother's personality, and I look like my father, so I probably have got the best of both of them.
And were they musical, were they?
My mother was. My mother's family were very musical. My dad's family, they're musical on both sides. My father loved poetry. He used to recite poetry all the time. That was his party piece. Yeah. Or he was a great storyteller. When we were kids, he would tell amazing stories. And with every kind of fantasy story, there's an element of truth somewhere. So it would be so exaggerated that you'd nearly, it was a fantasy by the time it had finished. So yeah, they both had their own talent. They both had their own way, but they were very, very different people. Very, very different.
Brilliant. Okay, I was thinking the other day about the movie The Quiet Man, and something came into my head. You were with us in Cong for the 60 years of The Quiet Man,
when Maureen O'Hara was there. Yes, I was actually.
Because the film must be 70 years old now.
It is. That was in Ashford in Mayo.
That was the weirdest weekend I've ever spent in my life, but what a weekend. We got to work with Maureen O'Hara.
Maureen O'Hara, I was sitting down with her for ages, and it was very funny. Twice this has happened to me. Once with Miriam Margolyes and once with Maureen O'Hara. And I sat down beside Maureen O'Hara and said, "Oh, it's so great to meet you." And she's looking at me. She just kept looking at me. And I was talking for about 10 minutes, and she eventually goes, "Who are you?" I can't tell you the story about Miriam Margolyes because the language in it was way too much.
Yes.
That happened in Australia with Elaine Page. Wow. And I walked into the dressing room and Elaine was there and Miriam Margolyes. And I said, "Oh my God, I'm a huge fan of yours," and I'm chatting away, just assuming she knew who I was. And she turned around to me, she looks at me very, very condescendingly, and she goes, "Who the F are you? And what's more to the point, what the F are you doing in this dressing room?"
Right, so we said the Ulster Hall gig is when?
The 17th of February, and Millennium Forum is the 24th of February. But yeah, looking forward to it, Robin, and it's always a pleasure.
We look forward to seeing you back in Belfast again, and we look forward to seeing you sitting there this time next year.
Please God. Yeah, please God. Thanks a million for having me as always.
Good to see you, Tom.
You too.
Thank you.